later. Let's start with the Royals.
Yeah.
Might as well. Last night, game 1 against the White Sox. We know how close the division's been. Really, since you've been gone, that hasn't changed much. They're 3 games back in the division now instead of 1.5 or 2.5. But the distance between the top team in the AL Central and the bottom team in the AL Central is still tight. The teams are all kind of mediocre. The Guardians are still in the lead. Last night reaffirmed the thing that I think we've probably spent less time talking about this team because Ragans has struggled, Noah Cameron has struggled. The offense was bad for so long that it hit it. The bullpen's not deep enough. And we've spent some time on this show talking about it, but it's definitively not deep enough. And last night was another example of that. They've gotten burned more times this year losing a baseball game late from bullpen problems than lack of timely hitting problems. The bullpen's burned them more than once, and last night was another example. It wasn't a bad pitch Strom threw, but like the offense came back through after the starting pitching failed, and they needed to hold them off, and they couldn't do it after Kolek gave up the runs, and unfortunately they gave up the wrong run at the wrong time to the guy I'd never heard of, and all of a sudden he's making diving plays on Bobby Wood Jr., hitting home runs to win the game. That game was frustrating.
Yeah, it was frustrating because it did feel like they blew that. You know, they're playing a White Sox team. I understand it's not the same old White Sox team. I'm sure you guys talked about that a lot leading into this series. It's a White Sox team that is in the postseason right now, if the postseason began and everything. Bink was texting me about that yesterday. And I get it, but you still had an opportunity with the way your offense got going last night to take game 1 of the series, continue the momentum that you had from the homestand that you just wrapped up and went 4-3, even if it didn't end the way you wanted it to go. And then you felt like you kind of gave that away. And I understand
so now
that
you're 4-4 in your last
every
8 against the division, which is
right. And then look, not every managerial decision is going to work, but I thought we all could notice last night watching Kolek that in that inning he was giving up a lot of hard contact, and they were starting to see him pretty well. And he also just wasn't as effective as he had been, which is fine. He can have a bad outing. The point is, I thought they should have gone to the bullpen a batter or 2 earlier. Yeah, that's probably not even hindsight being 2020. I think we all saw that in the moment. He was starting to give up some pretty hard contact. And so I thought that was a mistake. And then the Royals offense comes right back, fortunately, but you just wonder what was the decision-making process there. That's unfortunate. And so hopefully, the Royals can get the next 2. But in a division that is as tight as it is, where nobody's running away with it, where the AL's a mess, even one game like that, you just hope these aren't ones you go back and look at and say, man, that wasn't one where it's like, oh, you feel like you had no business winning or whatever. The White Sox stole one last night.
Yeah, it's weird because the Royals got 2-0, and when you hit 2 home runs in the first inning, you got to think, all right, we got a good chance to win tonight. Mm-hmm. Like, pretty good chance of just getting some winning baseball tonight. And then, of course, they immediately give up the 2-run lead a few innings later. They're just kind of stuck in hot or cold still. Like, because if I told you right now the Royals have lost 4 of their last 6, which is accurate, by the way, they have lost 4 of their last 6. It doesn't feel that way. Does it feel that way to you? Does it feel like they've lost 4 of their last 6 games? It doesn't. Certainly not. Maybe that's because before that they had won 5 games in a row. And so it depends on how far out the stretch it is, but it's all in bunches. They won 4 in a row. They lost 2 in a row. They won 5 in a row. They lost 2 in a row. They won 2 in a row. They lost 2 in a row. They can't seem to get 5 of 7, 6 of 7. It's all just coming in either winning streaks or losing streaks. And so if I go all the way back to, late April, they're playing perfectly fine baseball. They've won 11 of their last, they're 11-6 in their last 17 games. Goal that percentage will get the Royals over 100 wins the rest of the way. So the last 17 games, I got no complaint about, but they've let a lot slip away.
You and I both know though that yes, they could go 4-3 every every week and win 89 games or whatever.
Yeah.
But they're going to have a stretch where they lose 5 in a row again. They will, most likely. And will they have a stretch though where they win 8 in a row again? And so that's the part that's frustrating is when you feel like you need to take advantage of where you're at in your schedule. I did hear you yesterday talking about it's not like suddenly the schedule just eases up. There's no White Sox of 2023 again on your schedule, or 2024, I'm sorry, on your schedule, where you're just going to go and win 12 games against somebody in this division or 11 games against somebody in this division. That doesn't exist this year. And so when you had a chance to make it a great homestand, instead it was a pretty good one, or last night, those are frustrating. But Kolek, in fairness to him, I'll say this, it should also be a reminder of where we're at with Noah Cameron, who is hurt right now and came back and hopefully is going to get things solved. And we'll see about Cole Ragans. Those that were saying, oh, Noah Cameron needs to move to the bullpen because Kolek's pitching great. last night's a reminder of like Stephen Kolek was still a guy that did not get called up and start pitching until he was 28 or 29 as well.
Yeah.
And so, he earns the right to have a bad outing. Stephen Kolek was amazing in his first 6 or whatever, 7 outings for the Royals, but we don't need to act like Noah Cameron should have got bumped to the bullpen for Kolek. This is last night's proof of that. Like, hey, Stephen Kolek, we're not just, everything's good to go with him. He's still capable of having bad or very average outings.
Yes. He had 6 consecutive quality starts for the Royals. He wasn't going to have 45 consecutive quality starts. And again, someone's like, how is it the bullpen's fault when Kolek blew it? The point is, it's not, Kolek is the bigger part of the problem of the game last night. The issue is that in these games in which they've lost, every game it becomes very clear, Gold, that they do not have a deep enough bullpen to cover for those games in which they have to rely on it. No, last night, the bigger issue of the game was certainly, and I'm not trying to argue this, was certainly Kolek, who gave up more than the other end. But you have to be able to cover those games. It's like I go back through and I look at their losses. They lost 5-6 last night, so a 1-run game. They were tied late with the Tigers, and the bullpen eventually cost them the game, and they lost late. 1-3 to the Guardians. Again, it was 2 runs late. So it's like the losses, they're not getting run out of the building in any particular game. This is not every game they lose, they get their ass kicked. No, every game it's 3-3 or 4-3 in the 6th, and the offense doesn't get one timely hit. They had 2 runners on, nobody out twice last night, 2 different innings. They didn't score in either of those innings. And so that, it was the one late was the one that felt worse, where Vinny and Salvi both got on base, and then Carter Jensen struck out on a pitch 4 feet outside. And then Jack Caglione struck out on a ball 4 feet above his head. And it's and then immediately you're running into outs. But in the end, sometimes you have to outpitch them for the final 3 innings. And I have seen a consistent pattern this season in which if it's tied or we're up 1 and we got to outpitch them for the final 3 innings, the Royals do not win that battle very often. Even with, and that goes back to Estévez, who's out forever now.
Yeah, now we've reached the point with Estévez, you have to just proceed as if he's not coming back.
Oh, I know.
At one point it was he's going to come back. Now it's probably not going to have Carlos, and if you do, it's almost just an add-on later on in the season. That's really unfortunate. He truly his offseason, we've said it over and over. His offseason, the Royals' trust in his offseason and all that, it backfired in a massive way for them, unfortunately.
It did. And look, a couple of guys got him too, but also you don't even miss that Jonathan India is gone because Nick Lofton's been a nice player. Look, I was wrong. They lost, so people don't want to hear it a lot, but I was at least wrong on Nick Lofton being a contributing member of the big league ball
Anytime
club.
There's runners on base, he's been phenomenal.
Yeah, he's also hitting 300 with a 360 on base.
Oh, he deserves credit.
You and I both were that's a 4A player, and if he's on your roster, it's a problem. That's genuinely how I felt.
Yeah.
I don't feel that way now. He has proven me wrong that he can be a contributing member of the team. I still don't know that I'd ever want him starting 162 games.
Right.
But I certainly think he's valuable and adds value to the team. It's always the same thing. I don't want to live or die night by night, but I do need to at some point. And I've told you, I still want them 500 by the end of the month. Now it's getting a little tighter because you're 4 or 5 games under 500 now again. And you only got 2 weeks to do it. And then you got to start turning those things around. So that one's a little frustrating last night. Definitely felt like one after they made it 5-5. I'd love to see them. They've had 3 comebacks this year where they've come all the way back and then still lose. Can you just...
They still have more comebacks than anybody else in baseball.
I know. But it's
that's not a way to...
Not a way to live.
Not especially this early in the season. It's one thing if you're doing that late, late in the year, and that's something that your whole team is rallying around. When you're this still, 25% of the way through the season, so 75% still to go. Yeah, that's not sustainable.
No,
it's one thing if you do that in the month of September and you just all of a sudden in the month of September in a pennant race, you all of a sudden have 5 come from behind victories or something crazy like that. That's one thing. But not when that's been a big reason why you've been able to sustain and stay afloat.
Somebody says, I think it just proves that they're average. I'm not even arguing that necessarily.
Well, I think just about everybody in this division is average.
As of right now, they are an average team. Now, I pointed this out, and I don't think it's unfair. Last year, on September 3rd, the Guardians were 69-69. Okay, so it's that's what this division has been. At some point, it is just who gets hot last or who gets hot the longest. And what you and I are talking about is, can they just get hot the longest at this point? Bobby Wood Jr. is still playing like a star. Vinny is hitting. Maybe Salvi finally busted out of his slump last night. And so, for them, it felt like maybe that could have been the start of getting somewhere. And instead, they lose 2 games in a row where, like, they had a chance to win the game on Sunday and let it get away, had a chance to win the game yesterday, let it get away. So, I don't know. Just, we'll see how game 2 goes. Is it Lugo on the mound tonight? I gotta take a look. I don't remember.
It is Lugo.
Okay. I was like, that sounds right. And then I just wasn't trusting myself. Against some guy I'm not super familiar with, and Schultz. He's a lefty, though, which has been a problem for the Royals all season long. And what do you do?
Yep.
Carter Jensen, who's been in a bit of a slump, and Jack Caglione, is it the Nick Lofton, Starling, Martes of the world who are going to have to win this game tonight for the Royals? It might be, because they're really careful when they got that left-handed starting pitcher on the bump.